Joining us now is Ojinika, which story is trending around the world.
Dr. Bati, I'm not sure that's what... Hello, Dr. Bati, how are you?
How are you? Yes, okay. Is it not your name?
My name is Okpe.
Okpe.
It is my name, and I love it. How are you?
I'm good.
Love
good
your pink tie.
Thank you.
Good morning, Tundun. How are you?
Good morning, sweetie. I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Good, you look great.
Thank you, so do you.
You know why I'm saying. How are you?
To sing the Pepper Them song, but I wouldn't sing it.
What song? Oh,
the Pepper Them song.
We'll save it for Friday.
Pepper Them, but I wouldn't sing it. I wouldn't sing it in Trump's words.
We'll save it for Friday. Well, good morning to you, viewers. We begin what's trending in Nigeria. President Muhammadu Buhari's acceptance to appear before the House of Representatives following the recent massacre in Borno State has sparked reactions on social media. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, said this to journalists after leading a delegation to see the president on Wednesday. Although the Speaker did not disclose when the president would address the nation, he, however, added that the date had been fixed. Well, according to the Speaker, the president remains committed to finding a lasting solution to the security challenges in the country. Let's take a quick listen.
We have agreed on a date, and he will meet with the House to address the situation. I think he's more concerned than me or you. That's all I can say. Than me or you. You know, they say on easy lies the head that wears the crown. And we'll leave everything until when he comes to the House. Let me not preempt him. But all I can tell you right now, and the DS is here, the leader is here to bear me witness, he's committed, fully committed to the security of the welfare, lives and property of Nigerians.
Well, I think it's such a pleasant surprise that the president accepted, to honor the invitation of the House of Reps. I think that he has shown commitment to, the fight against insurgency, like Femi Gbajabiamila has said. But, it also goes to show that he's a Democrat and not a dictator like everybody, assumes that he is as well. However, he is a general. And a lot of people have said that he has failed in his position to secure the country. So I'm just looking forward to that meeting. I'll take a tweet. It's a reaction from a bunch of people from Obinna Nwosu, who wrote, "It was because of Boko Haram that Muhammadu Buhari was voted president. Many believed his military background would be useful in ending insecurity. It would be a great injustice if he fails to capture Abubakar Shekau." Well, in reacting to that summon, the former governor of Ekiti State, Ayodele Fayose, wrote via Twitter that members of the House of Representatives who asked the president to appear before the House should expect to be harassed by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission and a freezing of their accounts for plotting to bring down the legitimate government of the president. Tundun.
I hope the former governor, Ayo Fayose, was just being facetious, but it's actually quite funny. Seeing as we have noticed this trend of being overly sensitive from the executive branch of government, any criticism is perceived as an attack when it's actually not. So that's actually quite a funny tweet. Yeah. But of course, I don't expect that to happen. Yes. Because the lawmakers who rose in unison from Borno were perfectly within their rights to do so. And as I was saying earlier in the show, we have to normalize presidential accountability.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong, there's nothing untoward in that request that was made. And I must repeat it, those who were asking those lawmakers, who were trying to coerce them, to badger them into amending their prayer to remove that invitation to the president should be guided by this and should be somewhat ashamed that they tried to do that. That call was in order. And yes, you've established that there's no legal requirement. We know that. But like I was saying yesterday, legality is one thing, morality is quite another. We cannot continue to just have the lowest standards of just the barest legal minimum. We need to go a lot further than that. At this point, it's beyond an emergency. So I do commend the president, I do commend the House of Reps for doing what is right and trying to get justice for the people of Borno State, try to bring this war to an end, and hopefully we will win the war. Because I always think about Boko Haram and how it started off. It is mind-boggling that this is where we are now. You'll recall, we all saw that footage of Mohammed Yusuf being paraded. Next thing we knew, he was dead. Next thing we knew, this mayhem ensued, and here we still are. It has to end. And I agree with that tweet from Obinawusi.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the reason
right.
why a lot of people are saying, you know, you're a general. A lot of people bought the fact that he is a general. And
no, but
he's
he
going
was
to
a general.
use this.
He's not
a general.
He's a Sandhurst-trained
Yes.
general, actually. So he's eminently qualified.
Yes.
But this is a different type of warfare, unfortunately. Nobody was prepared for that.
Yeah, but it's been a while.
Yeah, I'm not making any excuses. I'm just saying the fact that he was a general, we need to throw all that out. We need new thinking, fresh thinking to combat this particular type of war.
Yes, intelligence as well.
Well,
Correct.
first, I think, you know, the Honorable Speaker of the House of Reps brought very good news.
Yes.
He went to communicate, as I said earlier, directly to the President about the resolution of the House of Representatives. And he came out with the good news that the President has agreed, which many Nigerians will interpret as something unusual. And I said earlier that this, again, is an illustration of what appears to be very good relationship between this Ninth National Assembly and the executive arm of government, although that has led to the insinuation that this Ninth National Assembly is a rubber stamp assembly. But it's good to see that on a matter of urgent national importance, the House of Reps has been able to persuade the President to come and give account. The key issue here is one of accountability. Nigerians having witnessed the spike in cases of terrorism and banditry and kidnapping, and assurances, repeated assurances by the federal government that everything needed by the security agencies have been provided, and yet the people have not seen the results. Then, of course, Nigerians are interested in the President coming forward. The other concern, however, is that I would like to see a situation whereby we don't waste too much time with this. It is true that the Speaker says that they did not dictate any date to the President. They want him to come at his own convenience, right? So whatever date the President is going to choose should be a quick, timely one, okay? We shouldn't wait till January before the President will say he wants to go and give State of the Nation address. This is attached to an issue of urgent national importance.
Absolutely.
I will expect that before the end of this week, you know, the Presidency will issue a statement and say the President will be having a session with the National Assembly on Monday or on Tuesday next week. And all of us will be waiting to hear what the President is going to say. Because it's not just the representatives that he will be talking to. He will be talking to all of us. And we will be ready to come here and deconstruct whatever he says, which we hope, a speech that we hope, will take on all the issues, including the concerns expressed about whether the service chiefs should stay there as if they were monarchs, you know, elected traditionally rather than public officials. And then, of course, you mentioned Governor Fayose of Ekiti State, former governor, as it were. You know, the point is that, you know, former Governor Fayose is making a partisan statement. Okay, he's playing politics. I mean, he's not on record as having commended President Buhari. He's not a fan of President Buhari long before 2015 even. And he's a man who is, you know, always very quick to say his mind as he sees it. So he has remained very consistent in that regard. However, he's expressing a sentiment that some people share, that the opposition also share, that this administration, the Buhari administration, you know, is repressing free opinion, that there's a repression of free speech under this administration. That's the basic point that he's making. Therefore, having the effrontery, he didn't use that word, but that's what he's insinuating, to invite the President of Nigeria to come and address the House of Reps, you know, that they could end up getting an invitation from the EFCC. They could have their accounts suspended,
or just arrested,
which is a reference to the NSAS protesters, or they could be arrested at the end of the day. So that's the message he's trying to put across. And he said he will be surprised if President Buhari goes to the National Assembly. And that's why I said earlier on this program that President Buhari should surprise him. And he should surprise other skeptics and cynics and naysayers, you know, who may fall into that category, who think that President Buhari is not willing to talk to Nigerians. And this should not lead to another round of people now saying, Speaker Gbajabiamila told us that the president will come. When is he going to go there? That should not happen this time. It's not difficult. By now, somebody should have written up.
Because that's exactly what's going to happen following this. If he doesn't
that will
show
not
up.
happen.
That's why I really like your point.
Yes,
it's
act expeditiously.
move sharpish.
Yes, he's president. He shouldn't be afraid of his own people.
Yes. Right. Rufai, your take on the story?
I mean, I was really excited that in that meeting I saw the president's chief of staff and he was there with his diary. Probably he's trying to diarize the day the president will be there. I mean, that looks good. But really...
He was taking notes.
He was taking notes.
That's what, what his job is.
But really, I'll just create a quick antecedent to Nwosu's tweet. It's not supposed to be a bad thing to elect somebody based on his antecedents in the military. I mean, Americans went out and did the same for a certain man called Dwight Eisenhower, that everybody calls Ike, like Ike campaign in the 50s. Dwight Eisenhower had led American and European troops in the Second World War, and he had done exceedingly very well. And when he came on the ballot, a lot of people, cheered him on, and he got the presidential nomination, and he was vice president to him was Nixon. And there were even some talks about the Republican Party recently, as far back as 5-10 years, using the likes of David Petraeus, as the Republican candidate in the election. There were talks about Colin Powell too at a point. So I don't want Nigerians to regret that they did vote him based on his military prowess. I mean, that time they had a problem, and if they felt it was based on the military prowess, they voted him. That's that person's decision to make. But secondly, I think it goes back to our democracy, and we should ask ourselves very delicate questions about our democracy. That what do we want from the democracy? If it's a democracy that it's making national news that the National Assembly invited the president to come speak, he's supposed to come speak.
Exactly.
That's another arm of the government.
Exactly.
So what kind of democracy? For us even sitting down here talking about it, it shows our democracy is faulty in the first place. And we need to have real conversations about this. The same National Assembly that can move for a motion to impeachment, it's another arm of government, even if when we throw the judiciary around so shabbishly in this country. But we all run to the judiciary when we want to determine election petition tribunal, because we know that the judiciary, with their injunction and interpretation of the law, can send the political office holders in the executive and pack him. So it's not supposed to be a big deal. And for Fayose to even say that I dare the National Assembly to invite him, is an indication that we have a very faulty democracy, and is an indication, like a lot of people have been calling, for a review of our constitution. Constitutionally, in a presidential system, yeah, the president has powers, but it shouldn't be sort of like a monarchical outlook. So if we practice this same system, and that's why Tunde, I'm with you on it, just maybe we should have a Westminster style of government, that the president too, or the prime minister will have to be a House of Parliament member, that will not even have to go to him in the executive branch to be able to bring him. He will have a question time on Wednesday that we can all bombard him with questions. And the leader of the opposition will bombard him. I don't see a big deal about it. It's a time of national crisis.
When your constitution was bequeathed to you by the military, when we've had this relationship with military governance for such a long time, like I was saying earlier, this is why you have the executive being treated like they're above the other should be co-equal arms of government. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, they should be co-equal arms of government. And this has to be revisited. And it also has to be revisited in tandem with what Jean-Jacques Rousseau talked about in the social contract. We forget in this country so much that governance is a social contract with the people. We forget.
We'll take another story, still in Nigeria. Following the looting allegation levied against Nigerian former head of state General Yakubu Gowon by United Kingdom Parliamentarian Tom Tungahat, members of the House of Representatives during plenary session on Tuesday demanded a public apology from the Parliamentarian and delegated its Foreign Affairs Committee to investigate the claim. The House also resolved to invite the British High Commissioner to Nigeria, Katrolina Liang, over the unsubstantiated claim by Tom Tungahat. It further agreed that the House Speaker, Honourable Femi Gbajabiamila, should write to the Speaker of the UK Parliament expressing displeasure over the unfounded allegation. Well, let's take some comments on Twitter before we discuss. We'll take a reaction from Ben Ward, who wrote, Why should the House of Reps demand apology from Britain when the House has not invited Gowon to investigate the allegation or audited archived documents or consulted Britain to verify the allegation? The House of Reps has questions to answer. Are they for Gowon or for Nigerians? Another user wrote, invalidate the allegation through forensic audit before you seek apology. I thought the government is fighting corruption. Well, others are also saying that they should set up a probe to investigate Gowon's regime in order to, bring out, some credible evidence in Gowon's defense, and that an apology is not right for them to demand an apology at this point until an investigation has been made. But if the House of Reps is demanding an apology, I believe that, they must have gotten, credible evidence, or they have their evidence to back the claim. If you recall, when this news came out, Gowon's, this whole news came as a shock to everybody, because obviously when Gowon was overthrown, at one point, there was no pension set up for him, and there was that picture flying around of him queuing up at the University of Warwick, just showing that he, really did not have any money at that point. So I do understand that there should be some sort of investigation, but I don't know if an apology is out of point at this time.
Now, for me, the most tragic part of all of this is that it is a distraction from the real issue, which is about sanctions.
Yes.
That is the real issue. So this MP who went and put his foot in his mouth has actually defeated the whole object of the debate that he had, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. And I feel like what he said he made an allegation. Stealing half of CBN is what he said.
Yes.
There was no figures. It was just a very broad statement. And he now said, some have said. Now, for me, it's not only about book intelligence or what you have read. It's about emotional intelligence in life. As soon as somebody tells me, well, apparently, or some have said, my mind flags it as gossip.
Right.
And the Parliament is not the place. It's too big a platform to elevate bare parlor gossip. Some have said, who said it? So for me, it's not every allegation that everybody throws out there that we need to grab and run with. When we actually have pictures of the sort of modest existence that he lived after leaving office, as far as I'm concerned, he didn't cite a credible investigation. What is some have said? It's like me sitting here because I have access to a platform like this to use that to slate somebody because I dislike them. It's wrong. So I do think that he abused his parliamentary privilege in that regard, and it's a shame because the rest of his submission was so spot on. He ruined it with that, and he has caused this unfortunate distraction from the real issue.
Yes, but also there needs, the Nigerian people are asking for this evidence that he did not loot half of Central Bank, and, it should be
Are you
presented.
supposed to adduce evidence that you did not do an act, or the person who alleged should prove it? I completely reject all of those.
Well, let me start with parliamentary privilege. The Parliamentary Privilege Act of 1770, the debate started in 1689. By 1770, the UK had the Parliamentary Privilege Act in place, and it's one to prevent Parliament from suffering from external interference, to be able to have the freedom to do its work, and also to have the freedom of speech in the course of parliamentary proceedings. But over the years, that has been abused a lot. In fact, there is a body of case law on it, people challenging parliamentarians, making wrong claims on the floor of the Parliament, or House of Commons, or the House of Lords. But the position is just that, look, if you have that parliamentary privilege, you can say what you like. But however, there have been calls for reform, and I think that this, comment by Tugendhat may also provide an opportunity to continue to ask for that reform, because you can't say because you are a parliamentarian you are above the law. Exactly. And I share the view that Tom Tugendhat, the MP representing Tonbridge, Edenbridge, and Mulling, and chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee, in this case, may be guilty of a mix-up. He probably mixed up the names. He probably had.
A lot of people have said that.
He probably had Abacha in mind.
Abacha,
yeah. And then he went ahead and mentioned General Yakubu Gowon. General Gowon, as we have pointed out the last time we discussed this, was away in Kampala, Uganda, to attend the 12th summit of the Organization of African Union, as the AU was then known. And it was from there that he went straight to England, where he became a student at the University of Warwick and studied up to the PhD level. Now, when he was in England, he was actually living on charity. At a point, some Nigerians contributed £3,000 to help him. At another point, Nyasiwe Eyadema, who was president of Togo at the time, gave him a donation of £10,000 to assist him. He didn't even have an apartment in England. It was one Emmanuel Oti, a Nigerian, who provided accommodation for him. And it was after all of this humiliation that he went through. Okay, you talked about pension that was arranged.
Pension, yeah.
And also, subsequent governments now created a small fund.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I should be disclosing this. When a Nigerian president is traveling, some money is set aside for him in case anything happens when he's outside the country, so that at least he will be able to survive for at least 2-3 weeks before he's able to get help. Okay? So that is not the profile of a man who took away half of the central bank. And General Gowon himself has responded. He has dismissed it as rubbish.
Yes.
And he has gone a step further in the last few days to say, look, he's challenging the MP, Tugendhat, to check everywhere within the UK financial system if he can find any account that is attributed to his name or any property that exists in his name as a former head of state of Nigeria. And in any case, there are institutions in England, in the UK, that track financial flows. If there is any such thing, I mean, by now, the British authorities will have brought it out. Half of the Central Bank of Nigeria at that time is a lot of money. Now, the next issue to address is that the intervention of the House of Reps in this matter is a measure of the high regard in which General Gowon is held. He's now 86 years, but in no record in Nigeria has he ever been associated with looting the treasury.
It came as a shock to a lot of people.
Socio-political, cultural organizations, they've spoken up, and that should be very comforting for him. However, I would have loved a situation whereby the House of Reps went a step further to discuss the substantial issues raised by the UK Parliament.
This is
not just the issue of Gowon took half of the central bank.
We've been distracted.
Because that particular issue was just a diversion.
Yeah.
It was a digression. What is the position of the House of Reps on the big issue of sanctions against key political figures in Nigeria?
My problem
and finally, the last time we discussed this, there was a lot of emotional response from persons who listened to it. There were persons who said, why are you saying Gowon is the father, is promoted unity in Nigeria and all of that? You should ask that the man should bring out the facts if he has those facts. I think the risk we run here is that many Nigerians still suffer from a colonial mentality. Once a white man says something, just because of the color of his skin, they will assume that there must be some truth in it. He must know what he's saying. But when a Nigerian says it or provides a counter view, they will say, no, you don't know what you are talking about. You don't have the information. And that's why I think Tugendhat, if he has any information, he should come forward with it. He's very active on Twitter. And I'm sure he's not unaware of the concerns expressed by Nigerians and even by our parliament. He can go on that Twitter, offer an apology. If he has any information, he can put it there. We'll follow him, and we will follow up.
But you know that reaction you're talking about, it also goes to show that lack of trust between the government and its people. And I think that's really what it is.
It's a recurring problem.
Yes, it's a
Gowon is not in government.
Well,
the fact that
he was once a head of state, so a lot of people...
Anyway, thank you, OJ. That's all we'll be able to take.
Thank you.